She stole his childhood to keep me blind, the day my son stood up and exposed the truth I refused to see. The coffee hit the floor before I did. The mug slipped from my hand, shattered, and dark liquid spread across the kitchen tiles like a stain that refused to be ignored. For a second, I just stood there, staring at it, wondering why my heart had started racing. Then I saw him. My son, Ethan, stood barefoot in the doorway. He wasn't holding on to the frame. He wasn't leaning. He was standing on his own. His face was pale, but his eyes were clear, clearer than I'd seen in years. "Dad," he whispered, his voice steady in a way that terrified me more than panic ever could. "We need to leave this house. Right now." 6 years. 6 years of wheelchairs and ramps. 6 years of doctors speaking gently, carefully, like words themselves could shatter something fragile. 6 years of believing a story because the truth was too cruel to imagine. I didn't ask him how. I didn't ask why today. I just grabbed my keys and ran. The garage door screamed as it lifted. I snatched the emergency bag I'd packed years ago after a security briefing at work, passports, cash, a hard drive I never talked about. I helped Ethan into the passenger seat, and that's when I noticed it. He moved like someone who remembered how. Not clumsy. Not weak. Muscle memory doesn't lie. As I reversed out of the driveway, my phone buzzed. A text from my wife, Laura. "Boarding now. No service for a bit. Love you." I smiled. I hated myself for that smile later. I met Laura when life felt lighter. Or maybe I was lighter. She laughed easily back then, touched my arm when she talked, like I mattered. We built our life fast, house, marriage, child, the way young people do when they think love is enough to protect them. The accident came later. Or what she called an accident. A fall down the stairs. No witnesses. Just her shaking voice on the phone, saying my name like it was a prayer. The doctors said spinal trauma. Severe nerve damage. Paralysis from the waist down. Permanent. Laura took control immediately. Medications. Appointments. Physical therapy schedules. She said it was easier if she handled everything. I was working longer hours to cover the bills anyway. She needs me, I told myself. My son needs stability. I didn't notice the changes at first. Passwords changed. Her phone always face down. Girls' nights that came home smelling like men's cologne. Ethan's therapy sessions got shorter. Sometimes skipped. "He's exhausted," Laura would say. "You're pushing him too hard." And slowly, painfully, my son stopped improving. A year ago, something cracked. I found a message on the tablet Laura forgot to log out of. "Still no feeling below the knees, right?" The reply came seconds later. "As long as he takes what I give him." I didn't confront her. I watched. I replaced Ethan's medication with vitamin supplements. Cleared it quietly with a neurologist friend, hypothetical questions, professional curiosity. 3 days later, Ethan's toes twitched. 5 days later, he felt pressure. Laura noticed. That night, she doubled his dose. That was when something cold settled into my chest and refused to leave. I installed cameras. Tiny ones. Silent ones. I tracked prescriptions. Followed bank transfers. Dug through insurance claims. The girls' trips weren't new. The man was. His name was Mark. A private physical therapist Laura insisted on. A man who liked control and didn't ask questions. Together, they kept my son sedated. Dependent. Weak. They kept me blind. I documented everything. Video. Audio. Medical records. Financial trails. I moved assets into trusts she couldn't touch. Changed beneficiaries. Recorded conversations where she slipped, confident in her performance, proud of her own deception. I waited. Revenge isn't loud when it's done right. It's patient. We crossed state lines before Laura's plane even left the runway. Ethan slept for the first time without that fog behind his eyes. I checked us into a safe house under a name she'd never know. I called the attorney I'd already hired and sent everything. Then I waited for her to land. She called screaming. Crying. Threatening. I let it go to voicemail. I wanted her calm first. Then confused. By the time she realized the accounts were frozen, Mark was in custody. When she came home, the house was empty. No furniture. No photos. No son. Just an envelope on the counter. Inside was a single frame from the footage, her hand, a syringe, my son's leg, and a court date. The confrontation came weeks later in a room that smelled like disinfectant and consequences. Laura looked smaller. Thinner. Her eyes searched for exits that didn't exist. They made me, she whispered. I leaned forward. Calm. No. You chose this. Every day. The judge didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Facts don't require drama. When the video played, Laura didn't look away. I think part of her wanted credit. Ethan walked out of that courthouse on his own. The sun hit his face like something earned. He didn't smile. Healing takes time. But he stood taller than I'd ever seen him stand. That night, in a quiet house far from the past, he looked at me and said, "She told me you'd leave if I got better." I felt the last of the rage burn away. She was wrong, I said. He nodded. That was enough. I poured myself a cup of coffee the next morning. This time, I didn't drop it. Moral: sometimes the greatest betrayal comes from the person who claims to protect you. Truth doesn't always arrive loudly, but when it does, it stands up on its own legs. And real love never fears your strength.